Caterpie.
Caterpie.
Right. I feel like everybody and their mum has owned a Caterpie at some point.
Yeah, it's like one of the easiest Pokemon to catch. Um, like you find it very early on. It's like a good like early trainer Pokemon to get you into the habit of, you know, using different Pokemon. I feel like for like it's really easy to get it and it not be particularly good against the other bug types around you, and then you'll run into like a Pidgey or a Spearow and it's just fucking useless. And to like underestimate it a little bit.
Mm.
I tend not to keep my bug Pokemon that I catch early game, but I do catch them all. I am very um like committed to filling the Pokedex, completing the Pokedex, and I like to do it as early as possible. So I end up getting quite over leveled by the time I get out of Viridian Forest because I'll get a Caterpie and a Weedle, and I will just fight Metapods and Kakoonas until they're fully evolved.
Mm.
And then I can stop worrying about them as soon as I get to the next Pokemon Center. I can like dump my new Beedrill and my new Butterfree in favor of something that I'm gonna use more long term.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so that's my approach to raising Caterpie, which is like not ideal if you're a particularly emotional Pokemon trainer.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm very much like level it up, dump it
Yeah.
type of person. Yeah.
I see. I'm somewhat the opposite in that what I generally do is I'll have a Pokemon on my team, and then I feel when it's starting to kind of fall behind, that's when I'll like swap it out.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree, but also Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill, because if I remember correctly, they are version exclusive. Butterfree's in red and Beedrill's in blue, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they are really good. They're really good at, I think, teaching you the mechanics really early on.
Yeah.
Like you'll catch one, it'll evolve really quickly, and then it'll evolve again really quickly, and it'll actually be like relatively powerful for when you take on Brock. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because especially if you've picked up like a Charmander, like that's probably gonna be like that's probably actually going to be your main in Brock's gym. Should you have picked up Charmander, but also I think that if I'm right, because you can also pick up a Pikachu in Viridian Forest as well.
Yeah,
which again
they're
won't be able
quite
to do anything.
rare to find, but they are there. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I discovered one by chance back when I was younger. I remember being like, "Oh, this is Pikachu. This is like the main one," and then from that point on, whenever I would go and replay Red and Blue, because I'd go back and revisit them like every couple of years.
Yeah.
I would hang around in Viridian Forest until I encountered a Pikachu. So I'd come across a lot of Caterpies, and I would have one on my team at this point. But like I say, I would evolve it, and then I'd probably keep it on my team until it kind of. I'm guessing, because I obviously didn't make a note of this at the time, but I'm guessing that I'd have probably kept it around about the point that like my starter evolved into into its end form, and then I would have likely noticed like Blastoise, Charizard, and Venusaur are doing like a lot more damage than Butterfree, so therefore I would have like swapped it out at that point. But yeah, I think that they're a really good like metaphor for how the game works. You know, you're going to catch them, they're going to evolve, and then you're going to eventually swap them out, and that is fine.
Yeah. That is I think a fair assessment, because like they are, they're nice like easy Pokemon to learn what you're doing with. And also I feel like they are good for like leveling up your early team. I feel like maybe the cocoon based Pokemon are obviously easier to level up your team
Yeah,
because they basically don't attack you back. But I do tend to find that yeah, the Caterpies um they tend to fuck you up a bit less than the Weedles because they don't have Poison Sting,
mm,
which I think is a a more challenging move to deal with.
yeah,
Um, but I think yeah, you can get some really interesting. You can you can figure out your way pretty early on. I think Caterpie is a good
mm,
sort of stepping stone for like knowing where you're going.
yeah. I also don't think it's a coincidence that they have like state. I feel like they're quite heavy on the status attacks, and like that's not necessarily been something that I've ever been that particularly interested in. But the fact that it's
Yeah,
got well, in Caterpie's case, like string shot, but will eventually go on to get like poison powder, sleep powder. Um,
yeah,
um, what's the one that gives it paralysis? Stun spore. Um,
Stonespore.
so yeah, I think that if you go down that route again, so for me, like doing the kind of research for this episode, kind of made me like respect them a little bit more because I think that they have been designed in order to teach you the mechanics, and I think that they do actually teach you really quite well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's like a good Pokemon to encounter to like think about like some strategy a little bit and to think about um how you're going to approach the game
Mm,
as you come up against sort of more, powerful, more complex enemies.
mm, yeah. Um, so like I say, I've had Caterpies. You've had Caterpies, and you often like dump them. But I
Hmm.
like. I'm guessing that yours will be the same as me. That my main kind of memories of Caterpie are from the anime.
Yes. Yeah. So I think Ash's Caterpie, like given it doesn't stay for like a huge amount of time, all things considered, when you think about how many episodes there are, it really does like uh leave an effect. Like it lingers with you. It has a really clear story. It has a lot of character to it.
Mm,
Like I like um Misty is scared of bugs and hates it and is horrible, but then like Caterpie likes her anyway,
mm,
and Ash sticks up for it. I feel like in that episode, both Pikachu and Caterpie are kind of dicks to Ash because I know he's not like a great trainer at this point. He's still learning. But he regardless, like he's unconditionally supportive of Caterpie, and when Misty's a dick to Caterpie, like Ash has its back,
mm,
which I think is like a key thing for like a trainer to do. Like it shows he's not just about the battling, he's about like developing a relationship with this Caterpie. Um and I think like he makes some mistakes. Like he sends Caterpie out against fucking Pidgeotto. He really probably shouldn't have sent Caterpie out against Team Rocket because like it is like it really that episode where Caterpie fights Team Rocket gave me like a really misconstrued idea of how good a move String Shot was going to be. Like it absolutely fucks them both up, and in the game it does nothing.
mm.
Like it is, and I was like, why isn't it? Why is my String Shot not having the effect of the Ashes did in that show? Why is my String Shot so fucking useless? Um, but yeah, this will not be the only time that the show and the game differ in a way that really fucks me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think yeah, Ash's Caterpie for like a little bug has some like really good character points,
Mm,
some really like cute emotional moments, like the bit where they're sitting under the stars and Pikachu's comforting Caterpie is just adorable. And he has some like decent battles as well. Like
Mm,
some decent challenges.
mm,
Yeah, but mainly the Team Rocket one, but not exclusively. And I like the way that like, you see like Caterpie sitting on Ash's shoulder, and I just think that's adorable. That's a lovely, lovely little moment
mm.
that I think does kind of encapsulate what like Pokemon the series is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about those like relationships and stuff, which is very cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like it develops a lot of like maybe like with the games they kind of looked at this as from kind of a kind of practicing and kind of exploring standpoint of being like, okay, let's, because we're going to have this Pokemon here for like a short period of time, let's maybe look at giving it a character arc, and also like what you say, to see what we can do with not only Caterpie's character arc but also Ash's character arc as well, because
Yeah.
because this is almost a strengthening and an evolution of how he is with Pikachu in terms of how he supports his Pokemon, but also how he is more about like developing connections with them versus being like this all powerful lance type Pokemon trainer, which I think some
Yeah.
people, when they hear like Pokemon Master, that's kind of what they imagine. But actually,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that maybe from it probably works better from like a character narrative standpoint, that actually the route that he takes is probably the route that you should actually go down if you want to be a master, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And I do, and I think we said this before when we were talking about the kind of comparisons between the way Ash approaches Pokemon and the way Gary approaches
Mm,
Pokemon, where Gary goes for like quantity of Pokemon and has a very kind of superficial approach to which ones he wants.
mm,
Whereas Ash has these like really close, solid relationships with his Pokemon, and I think you can really see that in his story with Caterpie, because Caterpie being the first Pokemon he catches himself, it's like really sweet just how absolutely delighted he is
mm,
that like he's caught the Caterpie, like he's so excited,
mm,
and it's just you see that kind of like joy come through
mm.
in a way that is, yeah, really, really indicative of like what it means for him to be a Pokemon master.
Yeah, and you touched on it before. It also is an element of them exploring Misty's character arc as well, and exploring
Yeah,
her.
yeah, definitely. Because like obviously she again very superficial reaction to Caterpie. She just want doesn't want to be around bugs, that sort of thing. That's
Mm,
which is fair. I don't like bugs really. Like I like, but Caterpie's like really big. I feel like I wouldn't be scared of a bug that was like this big. I feel like my issue is that bugs are really little and I don't want them to like crawl inside my mouth while I'm asleep. Um,
and that's
is
where we differ, mate. Because you saying that, right? I don't like spiders. Do not like 'em.
yeah,
Like if someone was like, "Oh, the issue with spiders is that they're tiny," and it's like, "No, no, 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 no. If they were huge, it would be worse."
I get that, but like where they have you get like a tarantula and like you go to the zoo and they let it sit on your hand and stuff. I
Mm,
would rather have like that tarantula on my hand and then put it back in its like case, because like that tarantula, I might be like, oh, that's a weird animal, but I wouldn't be like, if I'm not paying attention, that might crawl inside my ear, you know? Which I have like that is the thing that icks me out about small things. The idea that it will just crawl inside me somehow.
mm,
And like I know it doesn't happen because like spiders that are small enough to get in your mouth are like scared of your breath.
Yeah.
So when you breathe out, they run away from like the hurricane that just came at them. Like they do not go in your mouth. It's entirely a myth that people eat spiders in their sleep. But it got into my head
Do you know what?
that like Caterpie's like this big. He's not crawling in my ear hole. He's just gonna sit comfortably, you know? Like so anyway, what I'm saying is Misty is being silly and irrational and I'm not.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think yeah, the way that she learns to accept Caterpie, I mean she still gets the ick after it evolves a bit. Um, but like the way that she does gradually get over it
Mm.
again is nice. It is nice to see. Like she learns a lesson about being a bitch. Um, although there is something, you know, to worry about in terms of did she only get over it because like Butterfree's a cute little butterfly rather than an icky little bug. I
Mm.
don't know.
I think that there is some elements of that. I kept on thinking to myself. So first of all, you telling that story, it reminded me of one time. Right, so I've been afraid of spiders for a number of years now, and
Yeah.
and you telling that story of like having a spider on your hand, right? It reminded me of one time when I was at the zoo, right, and I went into I didn't want to go into the insect house, right, and I went and I was like told, okay, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. I can't remember if I was there with anyone, like if I was there with like school or my parents or whatever, but I've talked myself into going into this insect house on my own, right, and I went in, right. I'm okay. I'm okay around most insects, but not spiders, right? Come across this spider,
Mm-hmm.
I'm immediately like, oh my god, this is awful. This is awful, and then right, I went, no, this is fine. I'm being brave, and I've talked myself into coming in here, and I was like, and the reason why I've been able to talk myself into coming in here is because I know that they're all behind glass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went, did you hear that, Mr. Spider? I went, you're behind that glass, and I'm out here. And I went, you're in there, and I poked the glass, and the glass fell through. And then they had to close down the insect house.
Oh no! Oh, that's mad. Oh no.
So yeah, but yeah, something I was considering. I was considering waiting until the Metapod episode to bring up, but I feel like I might as well do it now, right? So I don't know if you know this, but Pokemon is inspired by, I believe, Satoshi Tajiri, who came up with the idea of Pokemon because he was into bug collecting back when he was younger.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Caterpie has had this much kind of thought put into it, and the Caterpie line has had this much thought put into it because it is so based on the core idea of how it spawned.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And yeah, no, I think you can see a little bit of that by like the fun designs of the bug type Pokemon
Mm.
because the first generation does not have the most imaginative designs. And anyone who's like, oh, first generation of Pokemon was the best, and then they just didn't know what they were doing. Got a bunch of eggs. It's got ball and a bigger ball. It's got a lump of sludge and a bigger lump of sludge. It's called a seal. That's just called seal. Like they really did not put a lot of imagination into it, and I think you can kind of see. Like I know, you know, these were not the earliest designed ones, but you can see the influence of like real world bug catching in the bug types. Like I think the bug catcher trainer types as well are some of the most memorable.
Mm.
They kind of like they're quite early on and they're quite consistent and um they make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I think that this is the first one that we've come across that is like very rooted in the real world as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can. I mean, it's almost called a caterpillar. Like that's how
Yeah.
rooted it is to the real world. But and like And like Butterfree is almost called Butterfly. Like it's so
Yeah. They're not the newest they're not the most I mean, yeah, none of them are that imaginative.
yeah.
Like, I don't
Um,
care. I don't care.
but in
People who
terms,
people who complain that Pokemon isn't imaginative just like never paid attention to Pokemon in the first place.
mm,
It was never imaginative. You were just a child that didn't mind.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you remember back when we did the predecessor to what this podcast became, when we did the initial Pokemon stream, like 2 years ago, maybe more
Yeah.
now.
More now, I think.
Yeah. Oh god, I'm getting older. But I remember my spicy take, because there was like an element of that where you had to do like spicy takes.
Yeah.
Of being like, every generation that's come after Generation 1 is like better than Generation 1, and that's purely because Generation 1, like everything else, builds on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else does build on it, and I feel like there are some things that retcon it a little bit.
Mm.
Um, but I think for the most part they do stay fairly consistent,
Yeah. And
which is
like,
cool.
and yeah, what you said about like the designs, like they do become like much more imaginative like later on. Like even our Trubbish, who's the mascot of the podcast, I think gets unfairly shat on.
Yeah, yeah, he does.
Mm.
I think he definitely does because like people who are going like, oh, it is like a sentient bag of rubbish. Like Grimer wasn't a sentient lump of pollution.
Mm.
Like it is consistent with the sort of logic introduced with Generation One.
Yeah.
Speaking of, he is still right here, I promise.
Oh, smashing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's what I was going to say. My very long-winded point that I was trying to make is, like, I don't know how much influence the show writers had from the games writers and like Satoshi Tajiri, but it wouldn't surprise me if the reaction that Misty had with Ash, who in Japan, as I'm sure you may know, but for the viewers who may not, Ash in Japan is called Satoshi, which is named after the person who came up with it. Like the way that that Misty reacts with Caterpie and Ash stroke Satoshi would not surprise me if that was a similar reaction that he had faced at some point. Like collecting bugs as a child, and this kind of them like Misty getting more kind of okay with it as it becomes Butterfree, as it becomes a butterfly. Like it wouldn't surprise me if that was a similar arc that a lot of people went on with that hobby for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I think like because it's also the collecting side of things for him was a bit like a special interest for him as well. And like I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of sense of feeling othered is something he wanted to like pull through into this so that other kids who went through similar stuff like that um like felt seen.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if that was like a conscious decision.
Yeah, I tell you one other thing as well. When I think about the kind of meta, kind of what's going on around the kind of games mechanics in terms of how we experience it as like fans. I think we spoke about it on a podcast before, but it's been confirmed that the types came in relatively late in terms of the development of the games. And it wouldn't surprise me, like what we were saying about how the bug types are quite detailed and kind of fleshed out. That if that was the way that it was designed, that the bug type Pokemon were some of the first ones to kind of come in, or at least be kind of conceptualized, given that they've got this as the inspiration, and that bug type's not going to come in until later. And it does unfortunately get kind of it gets the legs cut out from underneath it. Like there's not very many, in my opinion, good bug types. But
I mean, there are. I mean, I think there are now. Like, I think in the beginning you sort of had Butterfree and Beedrill,
yeah,
where I guess your two core bug types in the first games. But then you had like Scyther, which was very cool.
yeah,
And I think like as it went on, you got a lot of like bug types that you got your standard three evolution, easy to evolve starter bug type, which usually grew into something that was like a decent um early game addition to the team, but you likely wouldn't stick with it.
mm,
But then you got like later, much more powerful bug types that just had like no evolutions, just a one-off,
mm,
and that's where you get like your Scyther and your Heracross. Um, and then later on you get like Golisopod, and you got like is it Venipede,
mm,
which is again a really powerful, good bug type.
yeah,
And I really like Galvantula. I think Joltik and Galvantula are absolutely fantastic Pokemon.
mm,
I know it's going to be fucking years before we get to talking about them properly, but like once upon a time I got like a shiny one in a Wonder Trade, and I added it to my team straight away, and I just loved it. I didn't expect it to be that good. Like I dumped my Luxray and replaced it with Galvantula because I think you're right when you say there's not like loads of great bug types, especially not in the early generation. So I wasn't used to having a bug type on my core team. And I think it was probably Galvantula that changed that for me because I thought the bug electricity one was quite an interesting
mm,
combo.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah, I've
mean,
gone way off topic.
well, I had a similar thing with again. I want to say it was the predecessor to what this podcast became, but I've definitely told you on a stream that I've had a Vikavolt as like one of my mains, and
Yeah.
I think Bug Electric is like a very good combination, um, and but yeah, I do. I think in the first generation, like Bug type is not that great. In terms of like you probably will swap it out quite quickly, and then the later ones that come along, your Pinsir and your Scyther, like like they are very good, but I think that by the point that they come back along, it is potential, or at least it was for myself, to have your team kind of quite fleshed out at that point, and then
Yeah.
actually finding a slot for them then becomes, I think, difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is fair, and like I understand why you can't catch them like too early on, because otherwise you just have a really overpowered Pokemon on your team. Because if you get like the ones that don't evolve at all tend to have like better stats because otherwise you would never use them.
Mm,
And yeah, if I think if you got them too soon, it would be too easy to like they'd be a bit
mm,
overpowered. But it is also a shame that like having them slotted in later means that you've probably got the better part of your team, and it's probably not wise to sit there and be like, no, I'm waiting for a Scyther,
mm,
I'm waiting for a Pinsir, whatever.
yeah,
Unless you've been hanging on to like a Butterfree, for instance, knowing you're going to swap it out for a more powerful bug type Pokemon,
mm,
but that's just going to be your bug slot for now.
yeah.
Don't know.
I mean, I do
All depends on
sometimes
how
do
you
that.
approach it.
Yeah, I do sometimes do that. So like, sometimes I don't know if you do the same. Like, I'll go into a game and I'll be like, okay, this one I want to have like a kind of psychic heavy team, or like a ghost heavy team, or I might go, okay, this one I'm gonna have all flying maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of your regular playthrough that I feel like most people do, like most people will pick themselves up a fire, they'll pick themselves up a water, an electric, and they're like, and this is not taking into account if you dual type, but you'll probably have yourself a flying, and you'll probably have yourself like maybe like a ground, and then that sixth one is probably going to be a psychic or a ghost, and then I think it's really difficult to then stick Bug back into that team, given how rounded the rest of your team has become.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, should we have a look at the deck's entries?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Okie doke. Well, here we go. Let's see if it's kicking off again. So we got red, blue. Its short feet are tipped with suction pads that enable it to tirelessly climb slopes and walls, which to me makes it sound more like a slug.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
Mm.
Do caterpillars climb walls normally?
I feel like I wouldn't question it if there was a. Although having said that, if it was like a 1 foot Caterpie, if it was like a 1 foot caterpillar, how big are they? Let me just scroll up to the top and find out how big it is. It is 1 foot, so I suppose if you had
that's
one
bigger than I thought it was. How big is Ash? Because Caterpie sits quite comfortably like on his shoulder, and he's 10 years old. Has he got like a foot long shoulder?
Oh yeah, he's got a lot going on, hasn't he? He's been 10 for 25 years.
That is true. And like, have you seen like the episode where he like picks up the Larvitar, which is supposed to weigh like 100 tons, and then it's just like, fucking hell, man, is this child ripped?
Yeah, he never skips leg day, does Ash? Do you know what I was thinking about Ash on the way to this podcast? You know, I say this as if I like walked somewhere for it, right? But I was thinking about how kind of Ash, like, he's like, his body must be like absolutely like, he sleeps outside every single day, like he must be like, he must have just like a skeleton made of adamantium at this point because of how battered he is from his Pokemon journey. I don't feel like they ever really address it.
No, they do not. Like, it's not a particularly consistent show, is it? Let's be honest.
No, it is not. So I'm just gonna. There we go. Just in case anyone wanted it.
All right. So a lot of these, starting with yellow.
Yeah.
If you touch the feeler on top of its head, it will release a horrible stink to protect itself.
Yeah.
And then gold, for protection, it releases a horrible stench from the antenna on its head.
I want to know what the smell
Stadium 2 is the same. Ruby and Sapphire, from its antenna, this Pokemon releases a terrifically strong odor. Like, I did not clock Caterpie as a stinky Pokemon until now. Like, I don't feel like it was made clear that Caterpie fucking smells. Like, that didn't happen in the show. It doesn't have any smell-based moves.
It doesn't.
Like,
no.
I feel like I get why Misty didn't like it anymore. If she was going like, "Oh, get it away from me! It fucking stinks." That's a whole different ball game to just icky bug. She's like, if they'd shown a bit where she was like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a shot," and she like reaches out to pat it on the head, and its antenna lets out a cloud of stink, then I'd get it. Like, they could have used this so much better. This is just completely, like, just feels like it's come way out of left field. No one told me up until now that Caterpie fucking hums.
I tell you what though, if I'm right, doesn't red and blue come out before yellow? Red, well, of course it does. Doesn't the anime come out before yellow?
Maybe. Don't know.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago, and I was like 5.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure yellow comes out after the anime. Like, it's inspired by the anime. So that's like a later edition that they were like, right, well, we need to come up with a reason why Misty don't like Caterpie. And it is adorable. What can we do? Let's make it stink.
Well, no, she just said she doesn't like icky bugs. That's fine. She can just not be into bugs, which I feel like is, you know, something a lot of people don't like bugs. It's fine.
Yeah.
That was.
I tell you this, right? I was aware of it because, as you can see from my image, that's not a string shot. That is just
that's
really
a stink shot.
Yeah, that is halitosis.
I like the stadium one has thrown me a little bit.
Oh, is it still kicking off with the stadium professor?
Yeah, this stadium professor's a fucking renegade. It has large eye-like patterns on its head as protection. They are used to frighten off enemies. Now, I don't know about you,
Mm.
but those like big Puss in Boots eyes are not scary. They're adorable. Like, and also, is that not its eyes? How does it see?
Yeah.
If this is an eye-like pattern, where is its eyes?
To be
Because
fair,
I know he's got these down the side, these circles, which I would not call them eye-like because they're not very like its eyes.
yeah.
But like, what does it see out of if that's just a pattern? Like, did this professor know this, or did it see a Caterpie and be like, I'm not getting too close to that stinky bug. Maybe that's not a real eye. I'm gonna write that down. So it looks like I know something no one else does. Everyone else is gonna look at it and be like, eyes. And he's like, nah, that's not an eye. That's a pattern that looks like an eye.
Yeah, he's like, look at that Pokemon there that is terrified, and it's just like, no, that just looks like it. It's like it can't stand how stinky this bug is. No. It's due to the scary head pattern.
Scary eyes.
But having
said
that,
like...
right, if you are right, so I want to show you something that me and you consider to be very cute because it's just occurred to me that they are in here.
I'm intrigued.
Right. So this here to me and you is absolutely very cute. But should you be one of the neighborhood local pigeons, this here would look absolutely terrifying. Regardless.
But like, all right. So what do Caterpie prey upon? Because it doesn't need to be scary. It's not a predator. It eats like leaves and shit, innit?
Yeah, but like if you're an oddish that's having your leaves off your head eaten, like maybe that is terrifying for you.
Maybe that is terrifying.
Not only am I having my leaves eaten off my head, but it's been done by this stinky ass bug.
Stinky bug with fake eyes.
Well, I mean, as we know, the stadium professor is an absolute G. He speaks it like it is.
I feel like he has been like stamped down a little bit. By the time it gets to Stadium 2, he's just talking about the same horrible stench as everyone else.
Yeah.
I feel like he got silenced.
They were like, is your source on this credible? And he was like, well, I don't really want to have a look at it. And they were like, right, you're just going to have to stick to how much it stinks. Alright.
Yeah, and then a lot of it feels very sensible. Like, sticky feet, we've got more of. It climbs trees to forage, crawls into foliage and camouflages itself among leaves the same colour as its body on crystal.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I'll tell you something that has jumped out at me, right? Ruby Sapphire, right, has a voracious appetite, so that like links into your drawing.
My little chunky boy.
Yeah. But it says it can devour leaves bigger than its body right before your eyes. And we already know that it is 1 foot in size. But then,
so how big are these leaves?
Yeah, so it must be 1 feet and 1 inch plus. But the thing that I think is interesting, right? They've gone. Well, we could do this about like how much it eats, but now we've got to mention how much it fucking stinks again.
Yeah, maybe it's eating stinky leaves, and that makes the smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that if you have sprouts, it's gonna come back to haunt you. Maybe that's what's going on with Caterpie.
I am getting very hungry caterpillar vibes from Caterpie, from the little chunkster. It pretty much sticks with those two core points. It's a hungry boy, and it's got sticky feet and a smelly head.
Yeah, we've got
It changes it up a bit at Sun and Moon. Um, when attacked by bird Pokemon, it resists by releasing a terrifically strong odor from its antenna, but it often becomes their prey. So I guess the stink doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, pretty useless defense mechanism. And it was just like, if someone tries to eat it, it's like, don't eat me. I've gone off. I smell bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just lumpy milk at this point. And then the bird Pokemon are like, nah, din-dins.
Yeah. Whereas a nose pass is like keep me away from all fucking Caterpie at all times.
Nose pass is going, please eat that stinky little cunt. I do not want it. Do not want it near me. Imagine if like Pokemon was this detailed. They were just like randomly, like you randomly had an advantage. Like if it had that like extra element of this Pokemon has like smell type moves, and Nose Pass being a nose is weak to scent type moves. Particularly like uh particularly sensitive to like sweet scent and things. Can Caterpie learn sweet scent? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's have a very quick look.
I'm really starting to feel bad for Caterpie. Like Moon makes a point that we made earlier. It's easy to catch, grows quickly, making it one of the top recommendations for novice Pokemon trainers. That came up in our discussion a lot more than its stinky face.
Well, what I think that we've discovered is that smell type should be a new type.
Should be a thing. Next typing should be smell.
Yeah.
Although people have been saying that sound type should be a thing for a long time, and I can see the logic because you've got like Exploud and like Noivern, those things which do have like and also like lots of moves are sound type. Like Screech has been a thing since the beginning. Like I could see that slotting in quite comfortably. I don't know where it would fit in terms of its like type advantages and its relationships to other types, but I think there is an argument for that to fit into the canon.
Sound type and smell type, yeah.
The Pokédex entry for Ultra Moon makes me feel really bad for Caterpie. Its body is soft and weak. In nature, its perpetual fate is to be seen by others as food.
What?
Like, poor baby. And like, if you tie that into the one for Moon, it's easy to catch. Top recommendation for novice Pokemon trainers. Just think about all like the novice Pokemon trainers who go out with their freshly caught Caterpie and they're like, "Yeah, let's go out and do this," and then it immediately gets eaten by a Spearow.
I would have liked to see that episode. I tell you what though, to go back, right? I want to ask you, right? If we introduce smell type as a new type, right? Which Pokemon are we getting? Are we giving smell type to?
Caterpie.
Yeah. Of course, he's the smelly boy.
And then I feel like Nosepass should be weak to smell type. Trubbish and Grimer could be smell type.
Yeah. Skuntank.
Skuntank. Yeah. Gloom.
Yeah.
Famously smelly Pokemon.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of poison types could be smell type. Now that I'm thinking about it, but then you could also get like Roselia. Could be like a pleasant smell type.
Yeah. Ivysaur, as we know from the deep dive on that.
Ivysaur. Yeah, with its smelly bush. Came out worse than I meant for it to.
I remember you put a tweet out and it was like, since this episode and the last one, it was like, this is not a for kids Pokemon podcast, and I feel like we might have to put that out again soon.
Yeah, I reckon you could like retroactively make a bunch of Pokemon smell type.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that's that like Game Freak, who I know must watch this podcast. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Get on it. Smell type and sound type.
Sound type. All right. I think that's all of the Pokédex entries that have anything unique in it.
Yes, apart from like malting, I suppose. Right. Well, should we have a look at what Smogon makes of it?
Let's do that.
Right. Cool. So, we've got you can see it there. It's in the LC, which I think is the little cup, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which is for
it's a first evolution. It's got low stats. If it has a shit move pool, like I did have a look at its move pool after I asked if it could learn Sweet Scent, because I feel like that would be, if it's got such a big thing about releasing smells, I think Sweet Scent would be a good thing for it to learn. It literally just learns Tackle, String Shot, Bug Bite, and it can learn Electro Web by TM, and that is it. Nothing else. That is it. That is absolutely all of the things. In the trading card game, it has Headbutt, but not in the actual like video game games. So I could not imagine. Like, it literally doesn't get 4 moves. I can't imagine it being a good Pokemon to fight with.
Yeah. I think like you would have to be particularly like, I love Caterpie in order to use it in the little cup.
You'd have to have like a team built around, I guess, maximizing the effects of Bug Bite.
Yeah.
I suppose, to be able to send out your Caterpie and it not just get immediately slaughtered.
Yeah.
Like its attacks are straight up shit. Like its special ability is run away for a reason.
Yeah.
Because that's all you can fucking hope for.
Yeah. Fucking stinks. Right. Shall we head into the break?
We have to give it our rating first.
Oh yeah, do you know what? God, I was so excited. Do you know what? The thing is, right? I feel like we've gone into this Caterpie episode, and I was like, how much are we going to be able to talk about Caterpie? But now we know it stinks. There's loads we can chat about.
We've just gone off on a tangent about smelly Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, my Trubbish rating that I'm going to give to Caterpie is, I think I'm going to give it a 3.
A 3?
Yeah, 3.
I was going to go quite a bit higher than that. I was going to give it a 6.
A 6?
Because it is a useful Pokemon in-game for learning how to train Pokemon.
Yeah.
No question. And I think, like, I would not use it on my team, but I have learned a lot from Caterpie. I have had a Caterpie in, like, every game you can get one because they're so easy to get. So, Caterpie is one of the ones that I have plenty of experience with and memories of. Also, I think its story arc in the show is really good. Like, it's Ash's first Pokemon he catches by himself. And, like, you learn a lot about Ash from that. You learn a lot about Misty from the arc that they have together. And I think that makes Caterpie really memorable because it is utilized so well in the narrative of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I feel like you put a good argument out there. Because my initial thought was, like, I went, right, what did I give the starters? And I was like, so it's an 8, and I don't think it's as good as them. So I was like, right, I need to drop it down, and I was like, how low can I go? But yeah, because of the anime, but also I think it was somewhat, it might have been somewhat influenced by the fact that the professor was like, it fucking stinks.
Yeah.
So maybe I dropped.
Get me away from this stinky Pokemon. I don't want it.
So
I feel a little bit bad for Caterpie. I like Caterpie. And I do feel a little bit bad for it that it's just soft and squishy and seen as food.
Yeah. So I'm actually gonna jump mine up. I'm gonna jump mine up to a 5.
5. Okay, yeah, I think that's fair.
Because as well, like I didn't give it like a 1 because I was like, like there are some Pokemon that are definitely worse.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I'll go with a 5 for this.
Yeah, that's cool. I
Right,
get